Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Pundit's Pundit. My name is the Motor City Madmouth, and I am pleased to be joined by George Eichhorn. George?
Good to be back on the airwaves with you guys.
And the ghost of Denzel.
Yeah, there you go. We got, and then we got Jacob Christner, and David Copperfield, aka Denzel Snipes. So
yeah.
So once we bring him on here, so just while we're at that,
he's on chat saying, "Bring me back, bring me back."
There you go. So, anyways, with that said, just want to let everybody know that Pundit's Pundit is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Pundit's Pundit can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. There he is. Denzel
they
David.
Can't see you.
Name for the night. No, I want to be a guest. No problem. Participate in the chat room. That's the way to do it. Or the other way is it. Hello, Denzel. There you go. Good stuff for those of you watching this visual. If you're not, well, then you can hear it anyways. Please send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com, and we'll match you up with the right topic that fits your specialty. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. And our Twitter account /X is at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes doing the production, the website, etc. And I will be releasing a new book in the next few weeks called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. So to give you an overview here, we're talking about old school versus new school media and the lessons I learned, whether I met individuals in person or just shadowing people in my interviews. So hope everybody, and I'll get more details as time goes on. With that said, I'm going to turn over the red carpet and the mic, to Denzel Snipes. And you can take off Denzel David Copperfield Snipes. That'll be the rest of the night.
My apologies. Somehow my mic got muted, and then I tried to stop my mic and cam to come back, and it took me off altogether. So I just had to leave the thread and then come back altogether. But technical issues only lasted about 10 seconds. But yes, we're back. Pundit, deep sports talk all the time, and of course, hit the like and subscribe button to the South Florida Tribune and Sideline Sports as well. I'm in the building with my good people, my good buddies, Uncle Scott, Motor City Madmouth, Uncle George. You look, your background looks like the Kool-Aid Man's gonna pop in behind you. Oh yeah,
And nephew Jake right here.
Yeah, and college kid Jake right next.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate the uncle recognition since we're old enough probably to be your uncle anyways, Denzel. That's okay. That's what makes this veteran dream team here, which is our version of 60 Minutes in 2020 with our magazine style.
Magazine show, yeah.
Denzel's Barbara Walters. No.
Denzel Walters, I'll take it. I'm not exactly as pretty as her.
No, you're right.
Well,
I'm not touching that one. All I can tell you is I did mention Barbara Walters in my book. So,
okay.
A great interviewer.
There you go.
Great interviewer.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And with that being said, we'll go ahead into our first, and that is, of course, our weekly round of Pundit Points. So I'll go ahead and I will. This one here that I have is actually a bit disturbing. So it finally happened. Some of you have probably seen some Facebook threads, Instagram threads, news reports, even video clips. If you didn't really have to dig hard enough to find them, but they finally got them and they brought them in. All your suspicions are probably correct. Former NFL player Sergio Brown has been arrested in connection with the death of his mother. Sergio Brown is a former American football safety. He played for the New England Patriots as well as the Indianapolis Colts, the Atlanta Falcons, Jacksonville Jaguars, and Buffalo Bills. He went to University of Notre Dame. He was undrafted in 2010. He last played for the Buffalo Bills in 2016. It was reported that his mother had come up missing, and while his mother was in missing status, he was actually seen partying in Mexico. In fact, there are videos of it all over social media. And his mother, unfortunately, Myrtle Brown, was found dead in a creek in Maywood, Illinois. It sounds like and seems like the authorities have put together 2 and 2, and they have officially arrested him in connection to his mother's death. It takes a special type of human being to murder your own mother, and I know not everything is out just yet. I'm not in the business of jumping to conclusions, but I will say this, and that is my predecessors have taught me that, well, if it looks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. It's not a good look. It won't be a good look for him in court, in real court, in the court of public opinion, or anything in between, that while your mother is missing, you're having a time of your life in Mexico. So I'm really anxious to see how this all turns out. And regardless of what happens, hopefully she gets justice. Justice should be served and served swiftly. Not a very good look for Mr. Sergio Brown. And even if by a strike of a lucky lightning bolt he's found innocent somehow, it's still not a real good look to be partying while your mother is missing. That's all I got. Jake, what you got, man?
Well, let me say this part. It's also not going to look good when he does go to prison, which he will. And when he does go, because remember, prisoners still have moms. They still have kids. They're gonna beat him to death in there. You don't touch a mom.
Of course.
You don't touch a kid. Not in that world. But I wanted to bring this part up. This is another fans-related thing. I'm not going to go into what I had originally, like I told George. Not going to go into it because I found another one. This is another one of my million things I hate about fans. But I'm reading this. Yeah. Okay, 2 million. But the big thing is ajdillon decides. I mean, and we can say this part here. This is for Candy. ajdillon was basically at midnight on a bye week playing Farm Simulator. Because it's looking like if you can play that thing through, you want to be a farmer or you want to own land or something like that. You have dream. You know what I'm saying? Right. Just getting the idea, or you're relaxing or something. Yeah, so many fans saying, "Oh, he needs to," and I'm not kidding. I saw many of these. He needs to make 10 fantasy points a game before he does that. It's like these fans think that he has to go on their watch each and every single time. This is a rough, brutal business. The sports in general. There is 18 weeks a year. You know what I'm saying? There's 18 weeks a year. There's 162 games, 82 games in NFL and NHL. Brutal travel, brutal everything. They don't relax a lot. They get, like tennis players, for instance, 6 weeks, and then they have to go back on the tour again. Fans have to quit this idea that they know what they're talking about. And they need to quit pretending these are just robots just because they make millions. They got to relax also. And plus the fact with ajdillon, if he wants to be a farmer, good, because we could use more farmers out there, not just the corporate ones. So I'm just saying, I hope he wants to be. If he's just relaxing and playing the game, awesome. But I hope he has that dream one day.
Yeah, and crazy because the simulation games. You remember back in the I know George and Scott, maybe a little bit when y'all don't seem like y'all are gamers or anything, maybe more so in the 80s, but Jacob, you remember the Sims craze back in 2000,
sure.
Like whether it was Farm Bill now, but it touched a bit on everything, corporate world, family life, like simulation, it was fun, and
I've known that game to ruin marriages. That game ruined marriages.
Oh yeah, well, so is Dungeons and Dragons, and so is Call of Duty. But go figure. But no, it's positive. What more do you want him doing? Out at the club, getting in trouble, getting arrested? You saw what happened to Henry Ruggs? Is that what you'd rather him be doing? He's playing freaking Farm Bill. Leave him alone.
Yeah, exactly. And
George,
go ahead.
George, what you got?
Well,
Kool-Aid Man George.
I got my point is going to be Bally Sports. Okay, so we were warned over a year ago. Oh my God, the ship is going to sink. What are we going to do? Sports won't be on TV anymore. Okay, all right. Well, got news for you. There were no Red Wing games last year. There were no Tiger games this year that were lost. So what the heck is really going on with that situation with Bally? they said that the leagues were going to come and rescue them if they had to. Well, I have seen no concrete plans. I heard some things. Manfred said, oh, yeah, we got MLB TV to help out if something happens. But in this year that's gone by, I don't know what I've missed, but I'm glad they're still in the air. Don't get me wrong. But you cried wolf over a year ago, Bally, about no money and losing those contracts, especially to do local teams like we have in Detroit. But yet nothing's been solved or resolved. And I want to take a particular swipe, I'm sorry, but I have to, at a friend, chrisillitch, as he and his family promised us years ago they were going to form their own network so they could broadcast the Tigers and the Red Wings, the two teams they own, possibly the Pistons. I don't know. They don't own them, of course. Tom Gores does. But whatever happened to that? They never filled anybody in. They never said, well, it's too expensive. Well, we don't want to do it, kind of do it in-house in their own network. So I know it's a lot of expense. Don't get me wrong. I'm not naive. I know it costs millions and millions and millions to do your own broadcast rights. But I just want to know what is going on, Bally. Are you still in the game or you're not? You're obviously still in it because in Detroit, we're still watching you on Bally Sports Detroit. So that's my little pundit for today.
And you know what? Granted, yes, logistics are another evil game as is, but a combination network is not out of the realm of thought of bad ideas. College sports does it all the time. Pac-12 network, SEC network, ACC, SEC network, like they combine all sports together from the conferences and whatnot. So a Tigers Red Wings network, I think it's a great idea. I think it's awesome.
Hey, got a question, George. You get the feeling that you remember the movie Major League 2 with Roger Dorn buying the team and going in over his head?
Yeah.
You get the feeling Chris, even though it's his dad's, you get the feeling chrisillitch is Roger Dorn and he gets himself over his head where his dad always felt like he was in control.
Well, yeah, you're probably not too far from the truth. I mean, he's a different type of person as Scott and I have talked about this on different shows. His father was the spender. His father loved to spend money, try to win a championship there, and develop players too. Don't get me wrong. He was a former farmhand himself one time, the late Mike Yelich, Tiger farmhand. But Chris, I believe firmly, it appears to be in over his head. There's a lot of stuff that's going on there. There was a big article written by former New York Times sports writer Joe LaPointe talking about the neglect of Comerica Park. This stadium was opened in 2000, and they definitely need more upgrades to it. It's already 23 years old, and there seems to be nobody pointing and trying to get that done. So, long about answer to your thought, I think, yeah, he could very well be in over his head.
All right. And lastly, we're going to round it out with Scott. What you got for your pundit point?
All right. Well, here, I want to talk about for a moment, okay? The Yankees have the Yes Network, so obviously they've been able to combine sports there with the Yankees. I believe the Nets are on it as well.
The Nets are too, yep.
Right. So, I understand that Bally's, who wrote them off for dead, and they're still hanging in there. I know a couple markets went down, but for the most part, they're all intact. But my real pundit's point, I'm going to stay with the fan concept. And I found something very strange in Pittsburgh the other day. The chance of firing Matt Canada, to me, fans have the right to go out there and pay for their tickets and express themselves in any way they could. But really, you want to fire your offensive coordinator during the opener of a hockey game? The Pittsburgh Penguins, undoubtedly one of the most successful franchises in your area. Although I should say that Pittsburgh's had championships through the years. The Pirates have had their fair share, the Penguins and the Steelers. So that's a great sports symbol. Really? At a hockey game, the opener, fire Canada, as in Matt Canada at a Penguins game, the opener. Now, here's what even makes it more interesting. I'm sure at some point or another, Mike Tomlin's going to have to do something because they don't want to ruin quarterback Kenny Pickett. So to make things even more interesting, byronleftwich reaches out and is volunteering his services to be on the offensive side of the ball, which boggles me because I'm surprised that byronleftwich hasn't been hired yet anyways, and he was a part of the Tampa Bay Bucks Super Bowl champion. So this whole thing is just weird, but I don't know. I just found it strange where you're actually, we're not even talking about firing the head coach. We're talking about an offensive coordinator. My goodness. Okay. And I remember when the Lions version of Black Monday under Rod Marinelli led to the firing of Mike Martz. And how did that turn out? 0-16. So I understand that Matt Canada hasn't done the job they had hoped, but they fire him at a hockey game boggles my mind.
I'm going to say this part to Steelers fans. This is another fans related deal here. They had Bruce Arians, 400 some odd points a game a year every year. Kept asking for his firing. He even laughed that they were telling him to use a fullback in the Super Bowl celebration. They were doing that ridiculousness, and he was making fun of it. Then what else do we have? Then what else do we get? They had Todd Haley, 400 some odd points.
Yeah, honestly, in my opinion, that was the best offensive coordinator they had.
But Todd Haley, 400 some odd. Randy Feitner, other than 1 year, 400 some odd points, 450, 420. They kept asking for them to keep getting fired. Matt Canada is their karma. He is actually terrible, but they kept calling everybody terrible, so you just got terrible on you.
Yeah.
Period. And it's like, and I got to say this part between Pickett and Trubisky, and between the careers, what did these guys do? What goats are they found from the coaches that get them punished? Because to get them constant bad OCs. It's like Pickett's only had one, but I'm saying this to get this constantly. Is there a specific thing in the NFL where specific quarterbacks are just going to keep getting really bad OCs handed on them so they can just keep having a job?
Alex Smith
I just have to wonder
18
this.
of them?
Huh?
Alex Smith had 18 of them?
Yeah, but I think most of them were good.
Yeah, and you're not helping your players at all that way. We've talked about this before on different shows. And, you constantly bring in old coordinators and D coordinators and, a guy like Matthew Stafford. Remember, Scott, he went through so many quarterback coaches and head coaches and offensive coordinators. I mean, it's the one of the guy was still one of the better quarterbacks after going through all those.
Well, if you're going to bring up him, what about Joey Harrington? He got wrecked because of that. So I still do believe that Joey Harrington would have had a good career had there been stability at the head coaching, let alone the offensive coordinator and a good QB coach. And I'll tell you, to this point, I don't view Joey Harrington as a bust. I do not.
Yeah.
Well, Pickett, they just said it there. They just found out that Pickett, the reason they were showing the picture of Matt Canada looking like almost pissed off at the touchdown, it's because it wasn't his play. He called an audible without telling anybody, and Pickett did and got the touchdown.
Yeah,
and it's like, and that used to happen to Matt Nagy also. He'd get it'd be Foles or Trubisky would get a first down or a touchdown, wasn't his call, and he'd go apocalyptic.
Yeah,
on that. Yeah. It's like at some point these coaches. It's like I'll take Ditka at this point in time because he'd get mad, but then McMahon would go, chill. We got a touchdon, and he'd chill.
Yeah.
And he'd chill, and it's like at some point you're just gonna have to get over yourselves and your egos, and I think personally coaches need to train these players to figure their own way. That's where your training is, but their egos get in the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do, absolutely. I'll say this, then we got to go into our first topic.
Well, before you do that, though, the irony is when I thought about this pundit's point, really, you're trying to get an offensive coordinator at a hockey game when you have your football stadium. I realize they're not happy with the guy, but to take it to another venue, again, fans can do what they want, but this is one of the more stranger things I've seen in a while. So,
absolutely classless.
I get, and as far as Matt Canada being their karma, I agree. Let's face it, when you divorce the businessman for a bum, you get what you deserve. Anyway, with that being said, our first topic is actually going to be what Damar Hamlin and Marylouretton have in common. So and assuming that no one's been living under a rock in the last 12 months. Everyone saw the Monday Night Football game, or at least heard about what happened with Damar Hamlin suffering cardiac arrest in the game versus the Bengals last season. He embarked on a long recovery process, and fortunately, he's back on the field. Marylouretton, and we actually touched on this just yesterday on the Sports Exchange. Go find that on the South Florida Tribune when you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Marylouretton is currently hospitalized for a rare pneumonia. So thoughts and prayers definitely to her, as well as donations. What they have in common, and everyone's got their own perception about this, is, seemingly whenever you have someone who is hospitalized for something like this, the first thing I see that's in common with the two of them is what happened to them was rare. Marylouretton has a rare form of pneumonia. Damar Hamlin, I think it's only the second time in NFL history someone suffered cardiac arrest. Of course, one didn't make it. Damar Hamlin did. And not only that, but a doctor broke it down. It literally, what happened to Damar Hamlin was a 1 in 1 million chance that it could happen. Like, he got hit in his chest at the wrong time, Also, it brings about a rally behind him too. It gets the people behind him, and it brings people together. Fans of old school gymnastics, Marylouretton having put gymnastics on the map for her time period. Damar Hamlin, such a young guy, and for that to happen to him and everything, and everyone rallied around him because everyone saw the emotion on those players' faces when the man was down. So they wanted Damar Hamlin to make it. They all rallied behind him and everything. But I want to swing this to Jacob and get your thoughts about this whole thing.
Well, you want to know what I can tell you what's completely in common with something. It's like, and by the way, thank you, George, for letting me know. Even though I wasn't the biggest fan of the guy for a while, the Mattress Mac giving $50,000 of his own money, and it's really good. That was a really good thing, But here's the thing. Here's the deal about it. Damar, second year. I can tell you what's in common right now. Damar's second year in the league, and if he was in fourth year in the league, he could retire. Because he'd have his, you know what I'm saying? He had his whatever, his his pension. He'd have his pension, fourth year. But he was second year in the league, so he's got to come back. She has no insurance. Screen actors, the whole thing with the Screen Actors Guild strike is based off that too. It's like that you have to have a certain amount, and that's the thing about this. She's had many roles on television and movies, like even cameos or whatever. You can get a Screen Actors Card Guild that way. But she hasn't worked enough to keep it. So I brought this up last night on one of the shows. You are you're paying $3,500 up front, plus your $150 a year to be able to hopefully keep your medical for if you get a business where you may or may not get work. So you pay that. The thing is, it's one thing if you didn't pay that much, it's another when you pay that much and you don't know if you're going to get work. You should at least get medical. You should at least get medical. You should at least get all that. It's going to drain. This is the thing that we have with this. And the reason I say they're in common is because Damar Hamlin, they gave him the whole standing ovation. He shouldn't be in this league right now for what he had. But he's got to be another year or two, depending on, and who's to know if the Bills just don't cut him, after the year's over. They're not going to do it now because the story's still there. But who's to know if they don't just quietly cut him one day? And that's third year, and he can't get a job, and then there's no pension. And it's the same with this is the thing I get mad with the Marylouretton thing, is like we talk about this with Screen Actors Guild, everything about the unions. They're there to protect you. Where are you to protect her right now? She had since 1985 a bunch of cameos in movies, a bunch of television. She was on Glee. She was on different things. She was on Dancing with the Stars. She's been on things. Where are you where is the union to be able to protect her and be able to give her medical, at least if she's got the card? And that's where my thing is, where it's in common. Is you've got a couple, one's a performer, both athletes, one's a performer, one's everything, and neither of them protected the way they need to be.
Absolutely. It's when my thing about it, and I thought about this last night too, and almost said something, but I'll just say it now. Is Marylouretton where are the everything that she competed in and everything like where's the backing from that? All the money they make from that, you know, gymnastics. She helped put it back on the map, right? You know, she should be getting some sort of backing from them. You know, she shouldn't even have to rely on the Screen Actors Guild. She should be getting the backing from them. You know, and then the NFL and its mean rules. You know what? Maybe it is a money thing at the end of the day, as is 8 out of 10% of things in this nation. But I want to swing it over to George and get your thoughts about this.
Well, it's a very interesting topic, no question about it. Mary Lou obviously was far removed from her prime. Hamlin, of course, was in his prime. His incident was so brought to the forefront by all the media all across the country, not just NFL, but all the talk shows, all the sports shows, everything, as well it should be. It was a terrible incident. It's a terrible situation he was thrust into. But don't kid yourselves, guys. He got plenty of attention and plenty of medical support immediately, which was necessary.
Of course.
Okay. So I don't need to hear about his 3-4 year pension rule. Okay. Right now, trust me, they were glad to help him out, the team. And you're right. Where's Mary Lou's team right now? United States Olympic Committee. You're right, Dens. All that she did to turn that sport around and to bring that sport to the forefront after her gold-winning performance in the Los Angeles Olympic Games. Come on. Not to mention all the things that you talked about, Jacob, with her stage presence on television and movies and such, which is another whole, like you said, unfair thing with not being supported by the AFTRA and SAG.
Screen Actors Guild, yeah.
But, you're absolutely right. Now, somebody can sit back and say, well, wait a minute. We can't throw money at every former Olympic star or every former Olympic gymnast. But come on, folks. This is a situation where she was America's darling. She was America's sweetheart when she won. Nobody expected her to win and win gold. Now, I understand the Soviets boycotted and the Eastern Bloc countries. Remember? They boycotted Los Angeles. So she had a little bit of, we had a little bit of advantage in the United States in winning a lot of those medals. But I'm not taking anything away from her. She's a sweetheart. She's always been a great ambassador to the game and to the sport. And you're absolutely right. There's got to be some way that she doesn't have to, shall we say, beg for money or GoFundMe. I mean, I just felt bad that they got to do it that way. But the fact of the matter is that she does deserve a support, even though she's not in her prime anymore, far removed from it. But she did a lot to help this country and to help that sport.
She did, absolutely. With Mary, and even then, to anybody, because you said it, she was America's darling. So of course you're not going to treat every gymnast like that. You're not going to treat every figure skater like that. I don't expect anybody to hand Tanya Harding anything. Okay,
yeah.
Like you wouldn't treat Tanya Harding like Marylouretton or anything like that, And that's where people get it twisted because it's like, well, if we treat you like that, then we got to treat everybody like that. Oh, God, get out of here, Santa Claus. No one's talking about any of that, okay? Even Santa Claus doesn't reward kids who are bad. That's what we were taught, right? Growing up.
Yeah.
Exactly. We'll take it on to Scott, and who's probably played Santa Claus some years in his life. But get your thoughts about this.
Well, as a matter of fact, now that you brought it up many years ago, I did play at one time when my aunt and uncle were opening up a flea market, and I was so skinny then they needed 3 or 4 pillows to make me look the part. So that was at a time when I was in my early hundreds, so you did. Now, I'm going to do my best J.B. Ellis impersonation because he's having
No, you got to turn your head around to do that.
Well, yeah. I don't know. Well, no, I don't want to go that far because I have a brain here. Listen, okay, here's the situation. All right. Now, here's what Marylouretton and Damar Hamlin have in common. Okay. They are both a beneficiary of modern medicine. Modern medicine. Mm-hmm. Now, back to me. JB, I'm thinking about you. That's why I'm doing your impersonation. I will get better, especially when you return to the sports exchange. Boy, will I ever.
Listen.
Yeah, listen. Now here's the situation. Okay. All right. And by the way, I cut the Mountain Dew off at 5 o'clock, so I'm relying on other drinks to keep me going. But no, the reality is they're both the beneficiary of good modern 2023 medicine. That's what they are, 22 in this century, in this decade. Damar Hamlin, obviously, yeah, I think the Bills took the high road doing what they had to do to keep him on. But remember, Devin Still, okay, formerly of the Cincinnati Bengals, the Bengals took the high road and allowed him to keep his insurance when he was dealing with his daughter's illness. So,
Right.
and remember, you talk about Marylouretton. Yours truly was in LA for the 84 Olympics. And I had an opportunity with my late cousin Terry when we were at Westwood Village watching her do her thing. And she was America's sweetheart. She really was and probably still is. I understand she got divorced 5 years ago, so I don't know whether she had health insurance before, whether her husband had it. I don't know. I don't have enough information to fully comment on that. She's a beneficiary of modern medicine because with the rare form of pneumonia that she has, who knows if she would have had it a long time ago, whether she'd even still be alive at this point. So, yeah, but I'm glad the donations. But you're right. It should the Screen Actors Guild. You find out who your friends are at crunch time, and she's finding those out. So all we can do with Mary Lou is I hope you get better, and we're all saying prayers.
Yeah.
But modern medicine is where I'm going to stay to answer your question, Denzel. Both of them are very fortunate individuals.
Yes.
And thankful to be alive.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? You really hit it on that one when you said, you know who your friends are, even after all of these years, because I mean, she was in her prime decades ago and she was doing her thing, and it's like, wow, after all this time, it's like I don't hear from y'all, and she comes out of this and she realized it. But again, Damar Hamlin, great to see him back out there. Marylouretton, here's to a speedy recovery. Come on back to America, but.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get cut so quickly, though. If they felt they wanted to cut him, let's face it, the NFL is a ruthless business, and he wasn't good enough to still play at a decent form, then I think he could make it another year or two. We'll see how things go. I can tell you one thing, though. When Buffalo was on a nighttime broadcast, they didn't want another Monday Night Football with him being active either. Otherwise, who knows? And when you look at, they lost to the Jets, right? And
yes.
he wasn't even on the sideline. So the last thing he needed to do was readdress it on a Monday night at all. So.
Well, something, the big thing I say with that is that's something I'm not wrong too often, but I'll admit who I am. I hope I am here because I want him to be able to get his and be able to get to this whole thing. It's just, there's just been so many examples of the ruthlessness of this business, of sports and of everything. And it's like, it's the last thing I want to see, but I don't know,
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. On to the next topic, Dennis. Yeah. I just thought off the top of my head, I thought I'd throw that in there. Indeed, J.B. Ellis.
Yeah. All right, and on to our next topic, and that is our first of two Shaquille O'Neal topics tonight. So he has just been named the president of basketball at Adidas, and
was it Reebok or Adidas?
Reebok, my bad. No. It was Reebok.
I said Adidas. That's my mistake.
Yeah, and then I wrote it down in my notes and forgot to correct it. It is Reebok, ladies and gentlemen. He is the president of basketball at Reebok, and Allen Iverson is the vice president. So in interviewing Shaq, he said that his main objective is to reignite Reebok's presence in the basketball, the already already present presence in the basketball world. And also he wants to focus on player development and partnerships, which is always good. It's always great to market and network and everything and have more partnerships. And then AI said that his purpose is to help drive player recruiting and to build community-based initiatives. And here we have two prominent, dominant players of the 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, midway 2000s. We've had a ton of talks on Basket Bros about these two. And it's really nice to see these two give back through such a huge brand as Reebok. So starting off with Jacob, and to get your thoughts on Shaq, the new prez, and AI, the new VP.
I'm just going to go with this here. I am proud to see AI in that position. Shaq goes without saying. We're going to be talking about another thing in the last segment. You know what I mean? But AI, I'm very, very proud because he's in his, 52, 53? Or is he 50? What is he?
He's like 53, yeah.
Yeah. I said, and you heard me say this. They said that he'll get his money, $25 million, out of his the escrow when he's 55. I've said it. How many times have I said it? I hope he makes it.
Yes.
Because he's had the alcoholism, he's had gambling. And he's had those things. He's had those issues. And the one thing is, something like this could be really good for him. Keep him busy. Because he's going to make actual money. He's not going to drain it away. And he's not going to, hopefully he doesn't have a drink. He'll always have the drinking thing. You always have an alcoholism. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But these are the little things. It's like you have to hope he makes something out of this. You know what I'm saying? You have to hope. You have to hope that he keeps himself busy, that he helps these kids, which he can, because this is, you'll be able to recruit. They could be a great team effort. And Shaq, he's going to help Reebok by itself, and I wouldn't even shock me at all if he helps with any new designs.
Oh yeah, of course he has to do it, and even then, that right there would be AI's job because he's there for innovative purposes as well.
Oh yeah, and see that's the big thing is I'm just saying this for AI. I hope this keeps him busy to be able to do this, and I hope he gets to 50. Because the one thing that worried me back in when he was 43 or 44, and they said he had the escrow, was number one, will he make it, and number two, will he be busy enough not to blow it away? And now you have something like this, a job like this that is really, really good for an organization. This could help him. This can really help, and this can help this will help the company also. I like this move by Reebok.
Yes, especially with with AI having had shoes by them in the past, and then to bring them back in this manner is amazing. I still have the questions and the answers in my top 10 shoes of all time. But I want to swing it over to George and then get your thoughts about this. Like I said, two prominent, dominant players of the 2000s, and now here they are on top of the Reebok world. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm very happy for them. I really am. Listen, we've got this example here in Detroit, okay? We've got Dave Bing, who formed his own steel company and became mayor of the city. We got Vinnie Johnson, who's been a very successful businessman here in Metro Detroit. We got Bill Lambier, who had his own Lambier packing company at one time. And then we got the idiot, Denny McLean. I shouldn't call him that. I'm sorry, Denny, but you blew it when you took the pension fund away from workers at Pete Packaging and Pete Meat Products, whatever it was. So I've had bad examples here in Detroit and good examples. Pistons players love to stay in the Metro Detroit area. Iverson, we only had him a short time here in Detroit, but I'm happy for him for all the right reasons that you guys said. I mean, this guy has had, let's be honest, more of a checkered past, at least off the court, than most people would want to accept. Okay, so I can see Big Shaq hugging him and putting him under his wing and says, come on, Alan, we can do this together. It's very smart move, very smart marketing ploy, but they're going to work hard. I'm fairly confident those guys are really going to work hard and make it work for Reebok. But I'm also proud of the fact of the several, at least I know in my memory here, Piston players especially, that have done a great job. And really, you know what? That's what it's all about. What are you going to do after your career? You get all this money when you're playing, but then what are you going to do when the game is gone? What are you going to do when you can't play anymore? That's a huge, huge question. And every athlete has to look themselves in the eye and work with a financial planner and work with their publicist and work with their spouse or whatever. I mean, it's all encompassing. So it is good news. I'm very happy to see that. I think it's a smart move by Reebok, and hopefully it'll turn out great for Shaq and for Alan.
Yeah, I have faith that it will. And yeah, you may have. Wow, he Denny pulled an end run and stole people's retirements. Yeah, there's no coming back from that. But
Wasn't that? Doesn't he have a? I'm just saying, didn't Denny have a real bad gambling problem also causing that in the first place?
Oh yeah, yeah. He had his problems back in the early '70s. We know that, and God bless him. He's still true, going to the sports card shows and signing autographs and trying to earn some money that way. And he's been beset with tragedy. Both his wife and his daughter are deceased, and he's had a lot of rough roads, but a lot of that he's caused by himself. But I'm anxious to hear what Scott has to say now.
Yeah. What you got, Scott, on this topic?
Okay, listen. Okay, here's the situation. I've had the opportunity to interview both Allen Iverson and Shaquille O'Neal. If there's one person who's proud in heaven of Allen Iverson, it is his former coach, John Thompson. We all know John Thompson was like a father figure to him.
Absolutely.
And I got news for you. All right, Jacob, you had yours. Let me proceed. Thank you very much. It's called broadcasting ethics, which I know you know a lot about. So anyways, back to my point. Okay. Shaq, I ended up interviewing him during in 1994 when he was a part of the Olympics. You can't ask for a much more nicer superstar than this guy is. You really can't. Down to earth, even keeled. Does a fine job, by the way, with his broadcasting thing, which I know isn't going to go away either. In fact, they probably want him to retain that so he can go out there and you never know, make appearances with both. But let's face reality. One of the criteria that I use to try to get guests on our show, and I do use LinkedIn a lot for them, is I want to know not only what they did on the field, but what they've done off of it. One of my favorite people that I've ever brought on my shows is Barry Foote, the former New York Yankee and Montreal Expos catcher. This guy was unbelievable, after his career. I mean, he was like an import-export business, and he was a fine manager in the minor leagues and about an average player, and that's what you have. So Reebok made a great move. I mean, I like Allen Iverson. And everybody will know Allen Iverson for that rap. Practice. What do we need to practice? I played in the game. How am I doing with my impersonation, guys? Am I doing all right? We got Ellis tonight. We got Allen Iverson.
Yeah, not bad.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll turn into some voiceover opportunities. But practice. What do I need to do? Practice. Well, guess what, Allen? You don't have to practice. Just make sure you do a good job in the shoe business, and everybody will be able to look at you in a different way. I've always thought he's one of the hardest working players I've ever seen. I've never seen a more talented, smaller player work as hard as he can, drive into the baskets and take the beating that he does. And he kept playing basketball, unlike today's group, where a little paper cut gets you out a couple of games. Well, let me tell you, this guy probably got hammered in the head 9 million times over. And I'm not a fan of anybody because in the media, I don't like to be a fan of anybody because that's just not how I've been trained in this business. But to tell you that I'm not a true admirer of somebody, well, Reebok made a great choice with both of these two. They're winners, and I wish Allen well, and I know Shaq will do well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Especially, Shaq, and we'll touch on him after the next topic. This is just a Shaq Field episode, I just love this opportunity for AI. He had his career and he's had his controversies, but to see him get this position is almost like it's like the pinnacle, and especially with Reebok, the same company he had a shoe with and everything. This is great for him. It's great all around for both men. I know that they're going to do big things, but before we go on to our next topic, I do want to take the time to remind everybody to hit the like and subscribe button on the South Florida Tribune if you are on Facebook, and hit the notification bell for other episodes. Fire Michigan, Fire Power, Professor and the Pupil, of course, this show, you name it, they got it. Run by Scott, Motor City Madmouth, and also Candy Ebling. A lot of great material, so please follow the South Florida Tribune. And also follow Sideline Sports on YouTube as well. Hit the like and subscribe button for that also.
Great stuff, Denzel. I should point out while you mentioned that, in the next couple of weeks, right now, I'm working so hard right now to get my book done. But you talk about professional people. Well, uno, dos, tres. Myself, Jacob, and you are going to be taking over that show in a couple of weeks, and we're going to do a lot of good things with it. So stay tuned for updates. Go ahead, Dance.
Absolutely. And with that being said, going to our third topic, and this is a controversial one right here, but then again, when aren't we talking about controversy? So these are comments from shimmygratmiller and Marisa Moseley, who apparently had they made comments putting down white basketball players while having losing records. And so Moseley is currently the head coach of the University of Wisconsin women's hoops, and shimmygratmiller is the head coach of Minnesota.
Not anymore, just to let you know.
Oh.
She's on the B1G network now, but she got fired. But I was just saying, yeah, she was.
Oh, okay. Update. Well, she's been fired. She's on the Big Ten network now. I'm surprised she's even there. Moseley actually had said in a press conference that she has a United Nations of a squad, including run-of-the-mill white kids. So the question is do those comments hurt future black coaching opportunities? I'm going to say no, just off the strength of, if we're talking college hoops here, the Don Staley's of the world, if we're going across the board here, Scott mentioned it, John Thompson, in the pro world, Ime Udoka, Woodson, you name it. It's not going anywhere. It's not going to ruin anything. No one. We just said it, right? They got losing records. They're not really relevant, So I don't foresee anything huge coming of this. In fact, I'll be flat out honest with you. With full transparency with everybody, I never heard of them until this topic.
I hadn't either.
Yeah, but that just goes to show you the amount of relevancy. Probably the most relevant that SGM will be is being on the Big Ten network.
Yeah. Oh, and the thing I'm saying with it is, I think I'm talking about for future ones. Here's the thing, though. Ime Udoka never said anything like that, ever. No. Never even had a thought process of it. Don Staley sure as hell didn't. Don Staley sure, but the thing is, she's worrying about winning. Don Staley's worrying about winning. It's like you get the issue about it is she had Shimmy had 7 years at St. Louis, losing seasons every year. 4 seasons in Minnesota, losing seasons every year. She got whacked by Iowa. Her main thing was that she was saying that the defending, basically it was the defending runner-up, NCAA runner-up, Iowa is going to be no better than 5th in the B1G. It's because there's 2 black girls on the team, and it's 2 black girls on the team, and the rest of them are white, and there's where her thing goes. And she got whacked 106-49 by them same girls last year. So it's like, this is where my issue. I don't talk about the Don Staley's. Don Staley, and stuff like that. She's winning at Duke. She's winning a ton. Who cares? She doesn't worry about anything like that because she's winning. And it's like, Ime Udoka, he ain't thinking of anything like that because he's winning. He's a winner. It's like this, but the one, Marisa Moseley's 19-40 at Wisconsin. She's 19-40 at Wisconsin. This is where I was talking about, not the ones that are greats, but ones that might have themselves a chance. Especially, it's one thing if you go to New York City, obviously, the coasts. If you go to Chicago, for instance, it ain't gonna hurt anything there. But we're talking about Wisconsin. It's going to be Wisconsin. You're talking about the Iowas. The Iowa doesn't have any issue like that. But you're talking about these small Midwestern areas, which you would try to get something like that if they want to give themselves a job and get a chance. This hurts those chances.
Yeah.
This hurts those chances because there's already enough trouble getting the minority populations in those areas anyway.
Very true.
So it's like, you're doing it at Wisconsin and you're doing this. Here's the thing. If she doesn't get a comeback this year as far as any kind of record, she's cooked. After especially something like that, this will be a 3rd year. It's done.
Yeah.
So you want to know who's going to take over that just for probably trolling reasons? A white guy. Forget white woman. It'll be a white guy that takes that over. And it'll be over simply trolling, which isn't right either. But it's politics that keeps getting into this game. And it's like, she said the United Nations. Good. They're human beings from around the world. They're also really good at basketball.
Yes.
Good, but white girls are good at basketball too. White boys are good at basketball. Black kids are good at basketball. I'm just trying to bring this in part of the pundit's pundit. I want the whole deal. Quit trying to divide everything all the time out of money and politics. Let's start being human and start getting along. The ones that want to be idiots, ignore them. The ones that want to act like idiots toward a color in 2023, ignore it, because you can't be. But I mean, you shouldn't be thinking like this. This isn't 1957 anymore.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be that thought. But unfortunately, we still get these thoughts, and there's going to be a white people that think black the same way with black. Unfortunately, but we can do the best we can every day. I've said this to you, Denzel, and I've said to you guys. I've said all this. How I do my part with the minority populations, I tell everybody to dream. Every kid, everyone in college, I tell them all to dream the same. I almost like, yeah, we know the issues they had in the past. I don't bring them up. And it's not because it didn't happen. It's because we got to move forward in life. I'm going to pretend that it's for that conversation to let them know they can dream too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? And I'll say this and I'll pass it on to George. And that is, by the way, that Caitlin Clark girl, she's white and she's really, really good. And she was like the best player in the nation, like, just 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But there's that also. But all race aside, if you in the last 11 years have 11 losing seasons, really shouldn't be saying too much.
Mm-hmm.
Not even so much as talking smack about your opponent. Like you're 0-11 in your lifetime.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean,
and now she's sitting at a table. Now she's sitting at a table talking trash.
Yeah. You know, that's why I said I'm surprised she got that job. But I want to swing it over to George and get your thoughts about this right here. Do you think it will harm future black coaching opportunities, or is it not that big a deal?
Well, I'm not going to say it's not a big deal. First of all, there's a thing that we were all taught as kids. If you ain't got something good to say, then keep your mouth shut. And I'm only saying that, and I'm not condemning her. I'm not to somebody that she can, come back to and accuse me of something else. I'm just saying, if you don't have anything that's worthwhile, we all have had race issues, no matter where we were, where we grew up. But this is uncalled for. Those kind of comments are not necessary. And especially, like you guys said, she has nothing hardly to back it up with wins and losses, okay? So go out there and don't even go down that road, as they say, Because like you said, there are kids out there that are busting their behinds to try to make a go of it in basketball. and if they're white, black, yellow, red, I don't care. I mean, they're all given an opportunity. Some have a bigger advantage maybe, but so what? So what? I don't think it's going to hurt, but it's unnecessary kind of comments, okay? And it just smacks of, again, trying to be cute, trying to be funny, trying to get attention to me or my program. Well, it doesn't work. It didn't work that way. Prove it on the court, prove it in the classroom. You're teaching athletes that are also in college at the time. So it's a very important part of their life coming out of high school, going to college, and then also playing on a collegiate sports team, no matter what sport. We've had some great coaches all across the board, men and women, black and white, I don't care, whatever. They take their job seriously, and try to be cutesy and funny like this, I'm not for it at all. I think, and I don't mean to bring this guy up, but I have to. I think somebody like Mel Tucker has hurt the chances maybe for some schools looking at his situation much more than she has with her situation, because Mel was still is, in a sense, the highest paid, black football coach in the United States. Obviously, the huge contract Michigan State gave him. And again, I'm comparing football to basketball here, but the only reason I bring that up is I think that hurt more.
A little more. Mm-hmm.
A little more, okay. But maybe not. Maybe people will think straight, and hiring committees and athletic directors that are looking for the best coach will not hold that against anybody. But all this to say, no, I don't think in the case of the women's basketball league, future head coaches being African American, no, I don't think it's going to hurt. But I think she looks foolish. They both have suffered because of this incident.
Yeah, absolutely. And before I move it to Scott, I'll just say this much: even on the side of it hurting chances, and myself and Jacob talked about this a lot, and I've even discussed it with you two gentlemen up top. Is whenever you're a black coach, you're under a microscope, and the crazy part is that's whether you're winning or not. Even if you are winning, you're under a microscope. You have to watch what you do and say. It's imperative. Come on now. Gruden won a Super Bowl, and while for what he did, they removed him from the Ring of Fame in Tampa. What do you think they're gonna do to a black coach that says something like this? Let Mike Tomlin say something like this. Is he a Steeler the next day? Probably not. Maybe it's anyone's guess. But my point is this: you're held under a microscope as a black coach, so you do have to, watch what you say and what you do. But I want to take it to Scott and see what you think about this.
All right, now listen. Okay, here's the situation. Right.
Third round.
We got to keep the trend going tonight. Of course, I'm leaving the hat frontwards. You're dealing with a coach that's had lots of losing, right? Losing is to get you run out the door anyways. It really is. Sooner or later, you run out of patience. Now, I'll get off point a little bit. At some point, when does Robert Kraft get fed up with Bill Belichick and get rid of him if you'll do too much losing? I know we'll address that on another show, but I want to make mention of that. So losing will make life harder. And remember, if that individual or two that we're talking about ever interview for another job, don't you think in a million years the athletic directors or whoever are going to talk about this during that interview process? What did you really mean when you said this? So that's like egg on your face to begin with. So I don't think it'll go out there and hinder this individual or these individuals doing it. But don't ever put black and white together unless you're watching a black and white TV or looking at a black and white picture. That's a different story. Leave it alone. My goodness. I mean, and then you add social media to all of this. I mean, that's like double jeopardy. No, Alex Trebek, nobody will. So many people have tried to take your place, and who knows what you'll have. But you can't have double jeopardy when you're talking about race or anything like that. I want to go back to a situation that George and I know a long time ago, and I'm only bringing it up this time. When we had a former friend of ours, and I'll mention his name, George, Henry Jones, okay, who when I had a class over at USF about sociology and sports, and I took a page out of Dr. Harry Edwards about certain things. I don't want to get into too many specifics. And Henry, right, George automatically called me a racist because he thought I was speaking off the top of my head. So you know what I did just to prove a point? I went over to Kinko's at the time, and I got these pages, and then I sent them to his address, and Henry apologized. And you know what? I didn't accept his apology. You know why I didn't accept his apology? How on earth can you go out there and accuse me of being a racist when I had quality sources to be able to indicate that I wouldn't say anything, especially when you're talking about a race-sensitive issue? Take it a step further. Al Campanis got run out of baseball for saying things on Nightline. So my point is, will it affect these individuals to get a job? Maybe a little bit. Probably would. You don't want to have to answer this in a job interview, right, and justify what did you really mean by these comments, and then have a losing record. This is a bad act. That really is.
Yeah.
Hear what anybody says. You can't do that stuff. Even if you're winning or you're losing, how many times do you have one big mistake from a coach or whoever that run you out the door? There's a PR mess you have to deal with, right?
Yep.
You have to deal with it. Okay.
Yep.
And we can get into numerous topics as well, like what happened over at Penn State with their football team and how that program was in shambles before it ultimately got straightened out. I'm not going to get into that. But when you're talking about doing anything associated with race, you're going to be under a bigger microscope. Does this person get hired in high school? I don't know. Division III, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, they're
I
desperate
wouldn't.
enough.
I can tell you, me, if I were interviewing these individuals, I wouldn't hire them.
Well, the Denzel thing also, you brought up Tomlin. What if he did something like that? Therein lies the whole point of why Tomlin because he keeps winning.
Yep.
He doesn't think of why he wins. He doesn't think of those things. He's thinking about another. Hey, Ralph, how you doing?
Hi, Ralph.
Hello, guys.
Hey, it's
How
Ralph.
you doing, Ralph?
Ralph,
He doesn't think of those things. Dusty Baker, not 1 ounce. They asked him about the World Series not having an American black kid. He was saying it's too bad, but he wasn't insulting the white kids or Latinos. He wasn't doing any of that. He just said it's too bad we couldn't get it into the thing. But that's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
It's just
He didn't never
honest.
got pushback for it.
Yeah, no pushback. But I'm saying there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm like, he's not going to – winners like that aren't going to be worried about that. They aren't. They're worried about winning. They get all that stuff. They're not trying to get – they're trying to win rings. Dusty got one last year. Mike Tomlin's he's been around 3 different times around that boat. He has a ring. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you have a ring, you have a chance at another one. You're worried about that. You're not worried about making the playoffs. You're worried about that. You're not worried about these stupid things. But my thought process, when I already know that they're not going to say anything, my thought process is all over the country, and you get the Midwest, you get the South, you get all of these, especially smaller towns that are literally 91%, 93% white.
Mm-hmm.
Those are places that you could have a black coach. I mean, I'll be very, very honest. My town's basketball coach, it was his first ever. His guy's name was Andy Douglas. Quincy High, he's like 6 years there. He was the first black coach in history of the day. First one. And it's like it took them, but that's 40,000 people. There ain't that many options there in these small towns.
Right.
And you need, I'm not saying just say behave. I'm like, quit worrying about we have to quit worrying about the human element. I mean, the skin color, the whole thing. Everybody has a shot. Women are in boardrooms now. They're fighting in the UFC. They're in boxing. They're doing all that kind of stuff. I mean, women's sports are bigger than ever. We don't need to be saying that, women can't do this type of thing. Like they used to think that the uterus would fall out. They used to think the uterus would fall out if you know what I'm saying? If you ran. We're not there anymore. We're not anywhere near. They used to think black people are stupid. No, we're not there. We can't be there. People still think they're morons. We've just got to start ending this whole idea of divide and we got to start living together, working together, talking, getting the real conversation. We all talk about this.
Yeah, for sure. All right.
Absolutely. Well,
guys.
we do have going rounding the show out here just real quick. Our last topic, part 2 of our Shaq episode, and Shaq announced he wants to be the sole owner of a Las Vegas NBA team. So a little bit of background. Shaq actually had lived in Vegas for 20 plus years and has owned several restaurants. This is the part that I was going to touch on that I alluded to in the Reebok topic. He stated that he wants to continue to grow in Vegas. He currently has a net worth of $400 million. So here's a guy who obviously has been a business owner and knows how to run it. Now, a sports team is a bit more of a challenge, but as you can see, Shaq's been up to it. He's been bigger than the challenges in his basketball career. I love the idea of it, actually, but I want to pass it to Jacob and get your thoughts. Shaq being the sole owner, he said he didn't want to share it with anyone else, not co-owner, not semi-owner, not 51%, nothing. He wants 100% ownership. Your thoughts?
Well, I can tell you this right now. That's very, very cool. But this is, I would love him to do what Tebow did with the minor league hockey. Yes, the better ingredients, better pizza, Papa's John's, nice. but no, I would like him to do what Tim Tebow did. Go get a minor league squad that you just have to pay cash for, not go get a partner. Remember, he's worth $400 million. These are way more now. These teams are way more now for him to use his own liquid. So go get a minor league squad that you have your own. You know what I'm saying? That you have your own cash, your own money into it, where you can pay. You have to. It's little things. You have to pay the athletes. You have to go pay the rents. You have to go do that thing. Go get the uniforms. You have 1,000 things you have to do. Get the smaller level before you hit that big level. Because by itself, I'm going to go to the Roger Dorn reference. It's like you think you got this and everything, and all of a sudden you're taking the Mylanta or all that kind of stuff, and you're on the couch and you're stressed. That can easily happen, especially now you're bringing a team in, which will cost extra because you got to now pay for uniforms, pay for the new stadium, pay for new everything. So go. I love that Shaq wants to do this. Go to a smaller event first, where something that you pay your own cash first. To be able to buy and see how much that they win, see how much you do, and see if you can move up.
That's fair enough. That's very fair. George, what you got? Shaq is sole owner of a Vegas NBA team.
Yeah, that's a huge outlay for him and a huge responsibility. I mean, look, we've had guys that have been part owners and all that. We've seen them, and Derek Jeter, and it's a big risk financially. And I'm agreeing with you, Jacob. I thought that's a good angle that you came up with. I mean, I appreciate that. Been a couple of former Red Wings that went in on Scott. I'm not sure if it was Flint or Saginaw, one of the teams in the minor leagues, and they had a successful run. But it's a whole new ball game when you get into the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, MLB to try to be a sole owner. Trust me, it takes a lot out of you. It takes you even to be a minority owner. It takes a lot out of you. Magic Johnson is not a sole owner yet. Okay, we've had guys that have done it. I applaud Shaq for his desire to do so. First of all, I should have mentioned that at the outset. My comments. I applaud you, Shaq. That's great, and I do think the NBA deserves to have a team in Las Vegas. Of course, they've proven it now with the Raiders and with the Golden Knights. I really think that Shaq is on the right track, but I lean to more what my colleague Jacob said about doing the minor league thing first, seeing how you like it. Okay, try it, kick the tires, see if it works. There's a lot of things involved. So, and of course, even though you are a big name, you still got to get it past that very tough committee that the NBA has, which is called the Expansion Committee, or new ownership committee, whatever they call that when teams are changing hands. So it's going to be tough sledding for him. I'm more or less aligned with Jacob's views on this.
Mm-hmm. No, I definitely see where you two are coming from. I will say this much though, and that is at least he's sticking with his sport. It's not like Shaq is asking for an NFL team or anything like that. At least he's sticking with his sport. You mentioned Derek Jeter with baseball. Okay, Jeter's not trying to own like a hockey team. You know what I'm saying? But real quick, want to swing it to you, Scott, before we wrap up because I know you got another show. Your thoughts on Shaq or sole ownership, Vegas NBA team? What you got?
Listen, okay. Here's the situation. Okay. Michael Jordan owned one too. How did that work out? Can't say that his success on the court was all that great.
I forgot him. Sorry.
But Michael Jordan, okay, bailed the Bobcats, Charlotte Bobcats, before they rebranded back to the Hornets. And while they weren't successful on the court, I give him a lot of credit. He did own an NBA franchise. And I can tell you right now, that these NBA owners would love nothing better if their mega superstars could own a franchise because they know the ins and outs of the business model anyways, because they've been around it their whole life. And then add the Vegas thing to it. I wish him well. I really, really do. And remember one thing that we can't forget, he's going to be working with Reebok, right? Won't have no problem getting them any shoes, will they? That might cut down on some expenses a little bit.
A whole lot.
No, I'm trying to.
That's an easy write-off.
Right, exactly. So, hey, I'll provide the shoes. I'm at Reebok. They'll sell a billboard ad and so forth. But Michael Jordan had a good run, and the NBA really loves to see some of their mega superstars, let alone championship guys, go out their own. So I wish them well. I want to bring Candy Ebling on for just a moment. She's going to preview fire up Wisconsin. But hey, Shaq, more power to you. Hey, you got 2 out of 4 topics tonight, so we must all think a lot of you, and I certainly do as well. So, but more power to them. Vegas can use it. I know that it's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when they become a 4 sports town. Many years ago in South Florida, who would have ever thought South Florida would ever become a 4 sports town? But a lot of these places that used to have one team or no teams now have them all. So we'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to bring Candy Redbling on for a moment. And Candy, why don't you let everybody know what we have for Fire Up Wisconsin?
Coming up next, Fire Up Wisconsin. Don't miss it. We're going to talk Go Pack Go. We're going to talk about, was the Brewers season a disappointment or was it a success? And who do we think is going to lead us next year? And we're going to talk a little bit about the Milwaukee Bucks and that big trade, bringing Damian Lillard over to the Milwaukee Bucks. Don't miss it. It's up next.
Thank you very much, Candy. So she follows us immediately after the show. So there you go. So stay with us. And I can tell you right now, that's going to be a really good show. We're about ready to wrap things up. So Jeremy and Ralph will be on that show with Candy. All right, George. I realize you may be running into some technical issues really quick. So why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, there's a link to purchase my book. I write for the South Florida Tribune under the Motor City Tribune banner. I got my Red Wings preview article up there for all of you to read, and the book is available on the link. And you can reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com. You can also reach me on George Icorn on LinkedIn, and finally, you can reach me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SandGSports99. You can see me along with Scott and several of my buddies here on many, many of these programs, including the Sports Exchange, 108 Stitches, and Inside the Pigskin, and Pundit's Pundit.
Well done, George. I know that your laptop is running out. So meanwhile, thanks again for being on and looking forward to having you on the next show. So have a good night. All right, George.
Thank you. You too.
You're welcome. All right. Now there are 3. Okay. And we go to Denzel Snipes when George Icorn makes sure that I'm not seeing 4 instead of 3. Okay. But Denzel, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
All right. At NellyNell13 on Twitter, NELLINEL13 on Twitter or X, whatever they want to call it now. Also, Denzel Sniper 13 on Twitch. So Denzel Sniper 13 on Twitch. Top Rope Talk, just like you see on my sub headline. Top Rope Talk Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Myself and this guy right here, the Pundit. All pro wrestling all the time. Also Wednesdays, Confidential. And then occasionally they have me on the Sports Exchange as well. That's on Wednesdays. Confidential is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Of course, right here on the Pundit's Pundit, Thursdays, as you watch right now. Gauntlet tomorrow, Friday. We're going to be loaded. Myself, Dom, JJ, and JT. NFL news all the time. Also on Wednesdays is the Gauntlet Presents Picked Off. Weekly picks. Most definitely tune in. We're going to be chiming in with who we pick for every game down the lineup, and we also have our Lone Wolf segment. Who's going to be the lone one to pick the other team? And we also have a new thing called our Locks of the Week. So our 100% lock. We choose a game, and it's the 100% lock of the week. Absolutely. We also record everything down so that we can go over on the Gauntlet, give them their own segment, kind of like an I Told You So kind of thing. So it's all fun, all great, all on the Sideline Sports Network, and right here on the South Florida Tribune.
Well done. Well done. You don't look like you're gassed tonight. You're going good, my man. All right.
Yeah, I got the spirit of Morgan Rath in me.
Oh yeah, no.
Morgan Rath.
Yeah. Well, no, you don't want
I said Rath.
Rath.
I said Rath.
I know.
No, I know. It's all good. So, all right, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah. Well, everybody knows what the show's on this, so I'm just going to bring up my social media. Jake the Pundit. Jake the Pundit 1. Jake Pundit's on Twitter. I'm going to call it Twitter because X sounds like porn. Jake the Pundit 1. Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok. And Jacob Christner on Facebook. All 3 have over 1,000 followers. All 3 over 1,000 in pretty good time. So now I'm building. Plus part of 5 shows that 3 on the sidelines. 3 on the South Florida Tribune, 2 on Sideline Sports Network. We are, and then I'm also on the bench whenever they need me for 2 more of those. So I keep on moving, keep on grooving, and hopefully get some movies.
Well, I hope it works out for you. All right, one last time on our end, just so everybody know that Pundit being broadcast around the world. The audio version of Pundit can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, much to Denzel's liking, Google, or wherever you get your podcast. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for 1,000 subscribers. Please also comment, like, and share the broadcast. Want to be a guest? No problem. Participate in chat room. One way to do it. Or send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com. If you want to advertise cost efficiently, call me 954-304-4941. We broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. Our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, which will also be the same format where we're going to be self-publishing the book at South Florida Tribune as well. And Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes when she's not on the air, but does a masterful job with everything we ask her to do. And my new book, as I just mentioned moments ago, is a media book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. The target soft launch right now will be probably the first week of November, so we're working diligently to tie up a few loose ends. So we'll get more information out there as well. So meanwhile, on behalf of George Eichhorn, Jacob Christner, and Denzel Snipes, my name is Scott Morgan, Route the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Pundit, and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.